Hello, parents. Welcome to the Masterful Parenting Podcast. I'm Anne Alvares, parent coach, school counselor, and mother of two. Do you sometimes struggle with your parenting role? Do you notice that sometimes you're repeating patterns that you learned in your own childhood? Maybe you are carrying childhood pain that has not been healed, and you notice that it is showing up in your parenting with your own children. Perhaps you yell or get frustrated easily. Maybe you are directing them or telling them what to do all the time, and you notice that your actions are affecting your relationship with your children. Well, parents, I totally understand this. I came from childhood pain and I learned how to be a relational parent with my children. And I can teach this to you as well. This podcast is all about learning how to heal the childhood pain that we are carrying so that we can foster healthy relationships with our kids. Join us every week for a new show, and we will dive into the healing and the fostering of healthy relationships with our children. Hello, parents. Welcome to the Masterful Parenting Podcast and YouTube channel. Today, we have a special episode on the ways that we sabotage our kids without really knowing. We're not meaning to sabotage them, but sometimes we fall into patterns of how we grew up and we repeat what we learned in childhood with our own children. So we're going to do a deep dive into the ways that we're sabotaging our kids so that we can stop that and do something else, do something better that actually works better for them. And parents, there's no shame. Believe me, I have done some of these things because I grew up in a dysfunctional, toxic, abusive home. Some of these things, even though in my early years of parenting, I really tried not to repeat patterns. Sometimes it did show up, and I had to be very, very aware of how I was sabotaging my children. So, no shame, but we're all here to learn and do better for our kids. Okay, so the first way that we sabotage our kids is by overprotecting them. Uh, Overprotecting means that we are stopping them from trying things and doing things on their own, not allowing them to become independent. And when parents do too much for their child and solve every problem and try to prevent failure, it actually can hinder the development and the growth of our kids. It blocks independence because now the child is reliant on the parent for everything. And it makes kids doubt their own abilities because when everybody's rushing to do things for you and they don't give you a chance to do it on your own, children have an internal messaging that maybe I can't do it on my own. And so it actually affects their self-esteem. And it also teaches them that I can't handle things on my own. And that actually produces anxiety when you cannot handle anything on your own because you're not given the opportunity to problem solve, figure it out, because you've been told what to do, or your parents rush in to solve the problem for you. It actually can cause anxiety. When things go wrong, we have no resilience and no tolerance. Our children have no resilience and no tolerance for things when they don't go their way. So we have to be very careful with not being overly protective. I will tell you, parents, that I grew up in a very overly protective, controlling home, and it affected my self-esteem as a young woman. The overprotection means that I wasn't exposed to things. And so it was difficult as a young woman to get out there to try and get a job on my own. My mom was the one that helped me get a job in my early adult life. And so I do think it is a hindrance when we are overprotecting our kids, especially as they're getting older. But I know we're battling cultures also, uh, the way things were done years ago. And, I came from a Asian background. My mom's from Asia, from the Philippines, and she grew up in a very overly protected environment as well. And she rebelled against it, against my grandmother, when my grandmother was insisting on she has to live with her sister, even though she was an adult. So it actually isn't good to be too overly protective. I know how it affected me. And sometimes we just have to fight those cultural expectations because we know that they're not actually good for our kids. I have seen the damage that overprotection has done with my cousins, um, how they still live with their parents, even though they are old now in their 50s. And then they feel like they can't do anything without their parents because they've only lived with their parents. And they're men, right? They're men, and they should really be fostering independence, not relying on your parents when you're in your 50s. So we have to start young, allowing allowing our children to try things on their own, even if they're going to fail, even if they're going to fall, even if they're going to um, get hurt, you know, because it actually teaches them resilience. The more that you go through, the more resilience you build up. So overprotection, we gotta put our parent fear away, and we've got to stop the overprotecting parenting. And like I said to you, parents, I was overprotective as well, and I am learning. I'm still learning. I'm getting better. I'm getting so much better. But even with my teenager, I listen to my kids. That's the thing. If they tell me, Mom, I want to try this, and I tell them, yeah, I'm a little scared about it, then I'm being honest with them about my feelings, but they put me into check. They're like, you don't need to worry, Mom. It's okay. Everybody's going to be okay. So uh, we got to listen to our kids too. Our kids will tell us when they're ready, and we have to listen, okay? Because when they say they're ready, then they are moving into that independence stage, right? They're telling us that they want to try it, and we can't be blockers in their growth. Okay. Um, the second sabotage thing that we do is control. We try to control, tell them when they should eat, when they should brush their teeth, when they should go to bed, when they should um, get dressed for school, how often they should shower, what time they should shower. So it's like deciding everything for their child. Who are their friends? What are their hobbies? Forcing them to take piano even though they hate it, right? This is controlling behavior. Using fear, guilt, or pressure to force obedience. Okay, so like you have to do this, you have to take soccer lessons, even though you hate it, because I want you to learn a sport. Okay, or if you don't do that, mom's going to be very disappointed in you, right? So controlling and not allowing for disagreement. Um, I know in my home, I never felt safe to disagree with my parents. So I was a yes girl, said yes to everything, even though my gut was like, I don't want to try that or I don't want to do that. And as a young woman, uh, I I was exposed to like unhealthy relationships as a result because I was controlled as a kid, and so you look for relationships where you're going to be controlled. And so then you don't have healthy relationships. So the controlling actually damages self-esteem as well, because again, you're giving that messaging, the internal messaging that a child has is, I can't do it. Somebody has to tell me. My opinion doesn't matter. My voice doesn't matter. I have to listen and obey, right? And so that again is damaging for our kids to not have their opinion or their voice heard and instead to control them, right? And as adults, we don't want to be controlled, and yet we still control our children. Like we should be modeling what is healthy. And being in a controlling relationship is not healthy. And being controlled by your parents is actually not healthy. We can offer guidance. We can offer a routine. We can offer reasons why, we can have a dialogue about it. But to control them and not let them have a say actually damages their self-esteem and the way they feel about themselves. Okay. Third one is conditional love. So conditional love is, oh, if you get straight A's on your report card, um, I'm going to be very, very happy and I will take you out for dinner. Like, I know that doesn't sound bad, but it is kind of bad because you're going to only show love to them if they perform. The performance gives the love. So that is conditional love. If you behave nicely, then you can have a treat, right? It's bribery. Um, if you, like, I'm so proud of you for making the soccer team. So you can have an hour more of device time, something like that, right? Again, we're putting conditions on our love for them. And being they need we get the child gets a messaging, and the messaging is that I need to be perfect. I need to perform. My mom will love me more if I get an award, if I get a scholarship, if I get good grades. Right? This is where the people pleasing comes in, because parents gave conditional love, and then the child learns I have to do things to get love. And then they become people pleasers because they're searching for the love that they didn't get. They're searching for conditional love when they should have unconditional love from their parents. So we have to be very, very careful, parents, that we're not rewarding based on the things that they're doing, that we are celebrating the things they enjoy, that they're doing well, but we love them even when they're not doing well. That's conditional, unconditional love. Unconditional love is no matter what, no matter if you make mistakes, no matter if you hit your sister, no matter if you yell, doesn't matter. I'm still going to love you. That is unconditional love. And that is the messaging that we can give our kids that helps them to grow and take risks, because now they're not looking for perfection, because they know they're going to be loved unconditionally. Okay. And we don't want our child to have the messaging that I'm only worthy if I perform. That often leads to anxiety, people pleasing, as I said, and burnout. Okay. So we have to be very, very careful that we are only loving them. We have to be careful that we're not only loving them when they accomplish things, but that we are loving them through their bad moments, through their good moments, and everything in between. All right. Number 4, the fourth way we sabotage our children is by invalidating emotions. So they're expressing emotions and we are minimizing. Oh, you're being too sensitive. Oh, you shouldn't take that personally. Oh, that's nothing to get upset about. Oh, stop your crying. When we invalidate emotions, that means we're telling them to stop the emotions that they're feeling, then that actually hurts them because now they don't want to express how they truly feel because it's going to be judged, right? They're being judged for their feelings. It doesn't make the feelings go away, but it teaches kids to ignore or suppress them, which makes emotional growth harder later. I always say, parents, when our kids suppress emotions, it can result in a mental health issue like anxiety, depression, right? So I always say suppression can lead to depression. So we have to allow our children to express without judgment any feelings they have. Sadness, madness, doesn't matter, frustration, it doesn't matter what the feeling is. All feelings are good. And if we allow them to express it in a safe environment at home, tell me how you feel. Why were you angry? Do you want to talk about it? When we allow our children to express how they truly feel, then it helps them to understand themselves better and to develop emotional intelligence and also learn regulation. If we tell them to don't feel that way, to suppress it, then that hurts them. Okay. And then they're getting the message that my feelings don't matter. And that's not the message we want to give our kids. And that hinders their emotional growth. Okay. Number 5 is projecting our own fears or dreams onto them. Okay. We have to remember our kids are separate from us. They are not us. And our job is to foster um, identity, self-esteem, and support for their dreams, right? Not our idea of what they should be doing. Maybe our parents did that to us. Maybe our parents were like, I know my mom would say to my brother a lot that, oh, you should be a doctor, right? My brother had no interest in being a doctor. He knew at an early age he wanted to be an engineer. But my mom kept saying, oh, it'd be so nice to have a doctor in the family. Luckily, he didn't listen. But I know there are children that listen to their parents and they pick jobs that are careers that they're not actually interested in or suited for. So we have to be mindful that we're not pushing our dreams, our vision for them onto them. We got to let them decide. Push kids to live the life they wanted, right? Oh, I wish I was this, and I want my child to be this, right? Um, so we are excessively warning them. Oh, if you go skiing, then you could break your leg, or um you could get a life-threatening accident or something like that, right? You discourage them from trying new things because of your own parent fear, right? And that is something I have had to really, really work on because I grew up with very overprotective and fearful parents. And my mom didn't want us to try out for sports or join activities. And it was actually really, really damaging. I remember my brother wanted to try out for the football team in high school. And the coach had said, like, you've got the physique of a football player. He's quite big, right? He's a big guy. And I think you should join football. And he was interested. He wanted to. But my mom was like, no, you're not joining football. I don't want you to come home with broken bones. You just pay attention to your academics. And he says, even to this day, that he wished that he joined football because it would have given him the discipline to take care of himself physically and get into shape. And, you know, honestly, parents, why? Why do we stop our kids from doing things that they want to do? You know, um, do they, what they want to do is probably what is good for them. Okay, so discouraging them from trying new things, um, being fearful, and pushing our kids to live the lives that we wish we lived. All right, those are the things we have to be careful of. I just wanted to mention the parent fear thing. I understand the parent fear, parents. With my oldest, I was very fearful. I had to put it in check because I understood that I was raising a man, not a boy. And that if I coddled him too much, if I put my fears onto him, then he would not develop into the kind of man that I wanted him to be. You know, bold, confident, take risks, go for his dreams, be successful. Like I will not raise a man. I will raise a boy, a forever boy, right? That's afraid of everything. And so I really had to put it in check. And also, my oldest son was very adventurous, and he would tell me that I want to do this. If you're not going to let me do it, Mom, I'm going to do it behind your back. And honestly, that scared me. I was like, wow, I don't want him to do it behind my back. Okay, let's talk about it. Tell me, tell me what you want to do. And I let it go. It wasn't totally gone, the parent fear, but I decided that I wasn't going to use the parent fear to block him. I was going to keep it in check. And I would just say, make sure you text me. It was a trip that he took when he was 16 without me. I said, make sure you text me when you get there, when you get home, when you're on your way home. Because, you know, I love you so much and I don't want anything bad to happen to you. So the way that you can help me is to let me know that you're safe. And he listened to that. And he was very, very good about texting me throughout the whole trip. And so that is the thing. We got to keep our parent fear in check. Then it's okay to tell our kids, yeah, I'm scared. Should I be scared? Can you make sure you answer your phone? I think it's okay to tell them those things. And you can explain, I grew up with parent fear. I did tell my kids that, both of my kids, that. And that's why it's something I'm really working on. And both of my boys have been very, very patient and good, good to me as I work through my own parent fear issues. Okay. Modeling unhealthy behavior is another way that we sabotage our kids, because our kids learn from what they see us do, not what we say. Okay? What we do makes a bigger impact than what we say. So if we're not communicating well, if we're not taking care of responsibilities and putting everything on them, if we are not managing our anger or our stress, and they see it, they can feel it. I tell parents this all the time. Our kids feel our emotions. They can feel it. Um, and if we're disrespecting their boundaries, this is huge, parents. When my kids were teenagers, or maybe even like preteen, like maybe 12 or 11, you know, when their bodies start to change. Both of my boys said, Mom, do not come into my room without knocking. Because they don't want to be changing and I'm barging into their room, right? So I listened to them. I said, okay. And I always knock before I go into the room. But imagine if I didn't do that. Imagine if I didn't respect their boundaries and I just barged in. Like, that's poor modeling. That's unhealthy behavior. That's saying, I can cross your boundary, right? We have to respect our kids' boundaries and we have to set boundaries with them as well, right? So, modeling unhealthy behavior sabotages them. sabotages their growth. So we are the role models. We have to model what we want to see. And then that is what is going to translate to them into their lives. Okay, parents. So those are the ways we sabotage our kids unknowingly, the 6 ways. And I just want you to know, parents, I know everybody's trying. Parenting is hard. Uh, we have to go with the flow. We have to break free from the patterns that we grew up with. Maybe we learned unhealthy things in our home environment when we were kids, and we don't know what's healthy. We don't know that we're sabotaging our kids. And we're all in that process of learning. But, you can love your child and you can still cause them harm because we have to learn what is actually harmful to our children. And as I outlined today, those are actually the ways that we hinder their development and actually harm them. So we have to be very, very mindful of those 6 things. I'm just going to do a quick recap, parents. Overprotecting, controlling instead of guiding them, conditional love, having expectation and then showing love when they perform, not validating their feelings, invalidating their feelings, their emotions, projecting our own fears and dreams onto them, and modeling unhealthy behavior. Okay, those are the ways that we sabotage our children and prevent them from growing into who they are supposed to be. All right, so parents, I hope that helps you today. I know, like, talking about it is actually helping me as well. So if we can like break free of those patterns that we grew up with and do better with our kids, then we are changing generations. All right. Hope this was good for you, parents. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you, parents, for joining the show today. If this show blessed you, changed you, or helped you in any way, I would appreciate a Google review or a review on my podcast. And I would love you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Masterful Parenting, so we can get the word out to more parents about relational parenting. Thank you so much, parents, and we will see you next time. Take care, everybody.